Welcome to Serious Software Shenanigans, and welcome to Max! Say hi, Owen.
Ayo.
You sound rough.
I'm tired. I'm staying up late. Right.
And this is Max.
First tutorial is the basic user interface of 3dsMax 2013. Alright, you start.
Thank you, Owen. And how the weather? First thing we're going to be looking at is the create tool, where I call it the magic sun.
Yeah, it's the create tool. Just stick with the create tool.
Magic,
Don't call it the
magic sun.
It's also magic sun. So from the create tool, what do you do?
Well, in the create tool we have our standard primitives. These are the basic objects within Max.
Simple geometry.
Yep. So we've got a box, a sphere, a cylinder, a torus, a teapot.
Draw some of them out.
Fine. To draw an object, you can do it two ways. You can either left click, hold and drag, and then let go of the left click and then drag upwards. Or you can go into keyboard entry, which is marked above parameters, click that, and we get either the coordinates. This is where the object will appear. At the minute it's centered to the center of the UI grid, and the size, which is split into length, width and height. Let's just make a foot cube. Explain how many units in a foot.
Our games design course works within the game engine Unreal Development Kit, also known as UDK, and 1 foot in UDK translates to 16 units in 3dsMax.
Did you remember that, or were you just reading off the screen?
No, I remember all of that. I've been putting more shit in UDK than you.
Let's just delete this. There you go. To create this object, we now create the create tool, and there is our foot-sized cube.
Also, good note for the future, if you're ever having difficulties trying to figure out how big or small your model is, creating a foot cube and then placing it next to it allows you to kind of get a bit more of a perspective on it.
Alright, let's just look at the other objects we've got in here. We have a sphere, which is a circle. It's a fancy word for a circle.
Same principles, you can choose the radius, how many segments it has, obviously more detail, more smoothness, more polys, more rendering.
We'll go into segments in the next tutorial when we actually start modeling something. But to turn up the segments, it's literally as easy as this.
Oh, remember to turn on edged faces.
Oh, you want edge faces? Right. Over here, in the left top corner of the screen, we have the view. In the view, we have, well, cameras and lights will go on in different tutorials, but we have perspective, orographic, top, bottom, front, back.
Remember to click them to show what they do.
There we go. Right. Perspective is as you would see it in the real world. Orographic is if you were to see an object, but there was no depth of field. So you're seeing an object that's very far away, the same size if it was just in front of you. Top, which is the top view.
The 3 surrounding windows of the one that we're working in now are by default top, front and left, but you can change them with the little navigation cube in the top right hand corner of each window.
Just by clicking, like so. Let's get back into perspective. Oh, if you press Z on your keyboard, it will zoom in to any objects that you have selected. Like so. To scroll out, use the middle mouse button. And to move around the scene, hold Alt and left click while not in curation mode. Sorry. Click off.
Use the middle mouse button, I think, as well, if you hold it down.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Press C. There we go. You can use the middle mouse button. I've just found that out. I haven't been doing it that way. Hold Alt and then middle mouse button, and you can rotate around your object. Middle mouse button in its own will move from side to side, up and down. Right. You want to see edge faces. Next to the view we have realistic. This is the view that we're in right now. If you're running a very old computer, Owen.
Oh come on, I'm waiting to get her updated.
This isn't probably a very good idea because this will render shadows in the view. We got shaded, consistent colors. So you got shaded, which we can't see because there are no shadows in the scene. Consistent colors will remove all lines and just leave you with the colors. Edged faces, which
personal favorite.
It will keep the color of the object, but it'll add the edges as well.
probably the fundamental, most basic mode when you're creating objects and doing modeling, because edge selection, vertex selection all requires you to be able to see the edges, otherwise you're just guessing.
We don't use facet. Hidden line, which is the one I prefer, which makes everything the same color, but keeps the edge lines. And wireframe, which is very good if you want to see through an object.
Hotkey for that is F3. If you only just figured that one out.
I don't like hotkeys.
Oh, come on, there's so much faster for workflow. But yeah, there's hotkeys.
Not on your keyboard. Your keyboard's huge.
I want to know just quickly. If you wanted to find out about hotkeys and stuff, come up to customize user interface. Give it a sec to load. And here you have a long list of everything that you can do on this computer. You can go to like main UI and let's say unwrap UVW. This is when you're trying to lay out a map. All the hotkeys are listed beside them, and you can make your own. Click assign, and then you can actually save these presets. So every time you open up Max, you can load the preset in, and all your hotkeys are saved with you. Very useful if you just get used to like hitting certain buttons and such.
Please don't break Max.
Not gonna break. I'm not changing any of it. I keep the default by default. So.
Don't want to break it. Your computer's terrible. It won't open again.
My fault. I didn't know the difference between 32 and 64 bits, so I just went with 32 because it was the most common.
Right, the final thing we're going to cover in this video is the widgets. The widgets we have are the move tool, which is quick hotkeyed with the W key.
Well, you said you didn't like hotkeys.
Yeah, but widgets are different. I like widgets. The rotate, which is hotkey E, and scale, which is hotkey R. Right, if we go back to move, which is W, you'll find that we have 3 points of movement. We have the Z-axis, which is upwards. And then we have the X and Y, which will change depending on how your object is facing or rotated. You move your object by clicking on one of these arrows and dragging. Same with the rotate tool. You have the different color axes. If you click on one of the... Well, basically, if you drag over one of these rings, it will go yellow. Click and drag, and it will rotate.
Remember to use the snap tool just in case you want to get it.
Right. The numbers that you can see going up and down are the rotation, or how much the object has rotated from its original standing position.
Degrees-wise.
It's all in degrees, which apparently you're probably not going to get.
Oh, fuck you!
Anyway, the snap toggle for rotation limits the rotation to every 5 degrees, so you won't get any point numbers. So you've got 15, 20, 30, 35, 45.
Multiples of 5, really?
Yep.
Sure you can figure that one out.
Thanks, man. If you go to the move tool, we also have the move snap, which will snap the object on the grid, as you can see. It's snapping it to points on the grid. I don't know how many degrees this is, but I think it's just snapping to the smallest grid available. Let's just turn that off. And finally we have the scale tool, which comes in a variety of sizes and shapes. The original scale tool, if we press R, will scale in all directions. You can either scale it in the Z, in the Y, the X,
or 2 axes at a time.
Or 2 axes at a time, so we've got X and Y there. You select this 2 axis by clicking the first stripe.
Line, yeah.
The first stripe, as I call it. And then if you go in the middle, it'll select all the stripes and make the middle grow. It'll make the middle glow yellow.
If I'm not getting a degree, you don't understand English, alright? Yeah.
It'll scale it in all axes at once. If we go down to 2 sides, it'll only scale it in 2 sides or more. Or would it?
I don't see the point in it really if you can do it from the widget. I suppose it's just ease of use for people who prefer to do it this way, but the default widget will allow you to scale on any axis, any direction, or any orientation you prefer.
Yeah, and do you want to know the weirdest widget I found in the scale tool?
Go on.
Right, you see this one? It has the most useless prospect. Say I want to scale it in the Z-axis, right?
Yeah.
It scaled it in the Z-axis, but it scaled it in all the others to make it really thin.
That's like it's using X and Y and then using Z afterwards. That's pretty. What's the y-axis do?
It's the same. It'll go really thin.
I suppose there's a reason for that.
It is not very good if you're trying to make. It's very good if you're animating, I'm guessing.
You could create some freaky effects with that, I guess.
You could make some kind of squishy object, perhaps.
We'll be covering animation at a later date tutorial.
It could be a fancy ball. But anyway, that's the widgets, and that's the end of the tutorial. Any last words?
We plan on covering more tutorials in the future. Next one we'll be making some basic models and just getting the feel for Max before we progress on to more daunting tasks. And we'll also be covering stuff like animation. I think you'll be covering a fair bit in animation. I'm going to be using particle effects and stuff like that. So we'll be trying to get to grips with every aspect of Max for your ease of use. And no, I think that's just about it really, isn't it? So better stop it there, and we'll probably cover more of the user interface next time as well, actually. Like what modifiers can do and shit like that. Would you stop fidgeting with the bloody cylinder? Just stop the tutorial.
I'm now stopping the tutorial. And
No, minimize max, minimize max.
Oh, fine. There you go.
Okay, now stop the tutorial.
Why did I have to close Max?
Stop the tutorial.